Hello and welcome to this week's video. Have you ever thought about retiring early? Have you ever thought that that's a possibility for you? By retiring early, what I mean is you work if you want to work. Retirement means different things to different people. Some people want to be able to have free time to do what they want to do, and for others it might mean pursuing passions, and for others it might mean traveling, and so on. The definition of retirement really needs to be updated. Retirement doesn't mean in a traditional sense where you stop working when you're 65 or 70 or 75 years old, depending on your situation, and your health might not be up to par. You might not be able to enjoy your golden years as you thought you would enjoy. And when you reach that much anticipated golden years where you finally can do everything that you want to do, you aren't physically or mentally or financially able to do all of the things that you wanted to do. Life wasn't meant for us to suffer through our younger years and finally be able to enjoy a few years at the end of our lives. That's not my definition of a retirement. So retirement that we're talking about here today, it's financial freedom, and you can achieve that financial freedom at any age. And you might think, okay, I don't have that kind of money. I'm not a business owner. I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't have inheritance from my family. I have a job that I like. It pays a certain amount of money. It pays my bills, but I don't see a way for me to even entertain the idea of retiring early. And this is where you might be wrong. It's very much a possibility. You don't need to be an entrepreneur unless you want to. You don't need to be a business owner. You don't need to do all of these things. If you are employed, you make certain amount of money and you put certain principles in place, you can retire early. I believe anybody can reach financial freedom within 10 years, given that you don't have a very large amount of debt, or even if you do, you can figure out a way to pay it off and then start building wealth. So today I'm going to walk you through some very simple steps on how you can retire early. We're going to talk about 3 things that you can start doing today that will put you on the path of financial freedom, that will put you on the path of a retirement within 10 years. Number 1, figure out how much money you need to retire comfortably. It's probably less than you think. The sound bites we often hear through media is that you need to have millions and millions of dollars to retire. That's simply not true. The amount of money that you need to retire depends entirely on your personal situation. What works for you might not work for me. What works for me might not work for the next person. It's a very personal situation. So first you need to figure out how much money do you need to actually retire early. In order for you to do that, there is a simple formula in the FIRE community. If you haven't heard the word FIRE, FIRE is an acronym. It stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. There's a big community. I'm a big proponent and a fan of this philosophy or way of being. So in this philosophy or in this movement called FIRE, the focus is on financial independence. So remember, FIRE stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. Financial independence is where the focus is. Retiring early is a choice. Many people will choose to continue to work. They might cut down on their work, or they might do something else to contribute, something that brings them joy, something that brings them pleasure, and something that they might have skills for that they really want to share with the world. So the focus here is financial independence. So here is the FIRE formula to figure out how much you need to retire. Here's the formula. Figure out how much money you need per year to live on. What are your annual expenses? This is the money you'll need every year to comfortably live on. Whatever number that you've come up with, when your net worth reaches 25 times that number, you have reached financial independence. This 25 times rule comes from something that's called 4% rule. If you multiply 4% of anything by 25, you get 100% of its original value. It's also known as the 4% safe withdrawal rule. The rule of thumb is that you can safely withdraw 4% of that nest egg for the rest of your life and never run out of money. So to do this exercise effectively, to really know what your retirement number is and how much net worth you need Be honest with what your expenses are per year. What's the number every year that you need to live on? So let's say, for example, that you've decided, once you've done the math, you've decided that you can live on $3,000 a month for the rest of your life. That's just our example. You pick your number. So if you need $3,000 a month to live on an annualized basis, that's $36,000 per year. So we're talking net here. That's your net income that after taxes. So you have $36,000 per year that you need to live on. So for simplicity, let's round it up. Let's say you need $40,000 a year to live on. Take that $40,000, multiply it by 25. Remember, we need our net worth to be 25 times our annual expenses. And when we have that chunk invested, we can safely withdraw 4% every year and never run out of money for the rest of our lives. So if you take $40,000, multiply it by 25, that's $1 million. That's it. It's not millions and millions of dollars. Let's say you can live on $2,500 a month versus $3,000 from our previous example. So if you feel like, okay, I can live safely on $2,500 a month, that's $30,000 a year. So you multiply $30,000 by 25 and you get $750,000. So all you need is $750,000 invested, let's say in an index fund. You'll be able to withdraw $30,000 a year for the rest of your life. And again, it depends on a couple of things. Number one, it depends on how many years you have to go for retirement. Do you have 30 years to support yourself, depending on how old you are now? If you have 30 years to live on versus 40 years to live on. So there are a couple of things that it depends on, how many years of retirement that you want this money to support you. And second thing it depends on is the volatility of the market. Although stock markets do pretty well and pretty consistently over a long period of time, by long period of time, I mean 10, 20, 30 years. Generally, things even out over a long period of time. Even when we go through volatility every few years, at the end of the day, it kind of evens out. This 4% withdrawal rule, or this 25 times your expenses rule, it's a really good rule of thumb to give you an idea of how much you need to invest in order for you to retire comfortably. Number 2, up your savings rate. That's the other critical element of retiring early or becoming financially free as quickly as you can. What percentage of your money, what percentage of your income are you saving? An average North American saves anywhere from 4 to 7% of their income. That's not nearly enough. I've always focused on saving 50% of my income and live on every other paycheck. That's a really good habit to get into, no matter how old you are. Whether you are young and you're just starting out, you're in your 20s, you're even your teens, or you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can begin this now. Because imagine, if you don't start now, how old will you be in 10 years? So if you start now, in 10 years, you're going to really come out ahead. If this really sounds difficult to you, take some time and examine your mindset, examine your beliefs, and ask yourself, why do I think this is impossible? Look at your expenses. I assure you, you can do better than what you're doing now. You might say that, I don't make enough money to live on 50% of my income. Again, you don't have to start there. You can start smaller, start 10% or 20% and work your way up. Remember this, regardless of how much money you make, what really counts at the end of the day is what you keep. There are plenty of broke doctors and lawyers who make $400,000 or $500,000 a year, and I'm sure you know of plenty of broke actors, famous actors who have made millions and millions of dollars per film, and there are plenty of sports stars that made millions and millions of dollars every year, and they're broke and they're bankrupt. So money doesn't solve our problems. We need to become good savers and good investors. One of my favorite quotes is by Charles Dickens in his book called David Copperfield. He says, annual income 20 pounds. Let's use dollars. He was a British guy. So annual income $20, annual expenditures $19.50. Result, happiness. Annual income $20, annual expenses $20.50. result misery. I love the simplicity of this quote. It powerfully yet succinctly communicates the value of living within our means. Although I disagree with his 95% spending rate, but we get the point. And number 3 and final point is to invest your money. Make your money work hard for you. You've worked hard for your money, so now once you bring the money into your life, now it's time for your money to work for you. It's time for your money to bring you more money. And that's where investing comes in. Investing is the basic principle of building wealth. The 4% rule that I mentioned earlier in point number 1, it depends upon having your money invested in the stock market. That 4% rule is based upon having your money invested in the stock market, and it also calculates the inflation rate. And the guy who came up with the 4% rule was actually a financial planner, and he came up with that rule in 1994. I think his name was William Bengen or something like that. So anyways, he was a financial planner. He came up with this rule in 1994. What he did was he studied the historic market data, and then he added the inflation rate to it, and he came up with this formula. And he published this study in a paper, and it's now known as the Trinity study. You can actually Google it if you want to know more about it. And you might ask, where should I invest? Index funds are the simplest way to get started. I'm a big fan of index funds. The beauty and simplicity of index funds are that they mirror the entire stock market. The fees are lower. There are no fund managers managing these funds and charging you hefty fees. So it's a simple, straightforward, and diversified way of investing your money. And if you look at any index funds, for example, S&P 500 or all caps, you can look at Canadian index funds, US index funds. If you look at their historical performance, they pretty much match the overall stock market performance. And that's what you want. So there you have it. Those are the 3 steps you can take today. You can begin today to retire early. There's no get rich quick scheme here. There's no magic pill, and it's never too late. And it's never too early. So if you're 20 years old, just starting out, do these steps and it will blow your mind at how fast your money grows. If you're 60 years old, start today, because if you don't do it, where will you be in 10 years? If you start today, you'll be pleasantly surprised at how fast your money grows. I know 10 years from now seems like a long time, and even 5 years from now seems like a long time. But we underestimate what we can do in 10 years, and we tend to overestimate what we can do in a year. And it's probably because we can't wrap our mind around 10 years down the road, what's going to happen. But time is on your side. It's never, ever too late. So please put these things in action and start today. Thank you for watching. Happy investing. Don't forget to tune back in next Thursday, and don't forget to like this video and share it. Thanks.